Okay.
Okay.
Here we go again. Imagine you're doing a review with Martin. You're 10 minutes into it.
Yeah.
And then he says, bro, I forgot to start the audio.
Yeah.
So welcome back to...
That did not happen.
That did not happen.
Stop gaslighting the audience.
Of course. Yeah. So welcome back to another review. We're back to IXALAN.
Yeah.
Back to dinosaurs and pirates.
And treasures.
Usually those are tribes we're not that much interested about in Duel Commander. But it brought a few cards that are still interesting for our format.
And this might as well. Yeah.
With Inti. We debated about the pronunciation. It might be Seneschal of the Sun. A cool new legendary 2-mana red creature that will definitely find its way into Yoshi as well as Felden. And whenever you want to do stuff with discarding, as some people try on the International Duel Commander server with to play like a Junt Madness Brew with Slimefoot at the helm, then this card might also fit your game plan.
Yeah, it's probably not good enough to be a commander, like a replacement for Felden, but still a nice inclusion into red aggro decks, probably.
True. Next up, we have the first pirate. Or maybe we should switch the order here, because maybe we should give Malcolm a go first.
Yeah, the first pirate. Still
the first pirate, true. So this is another one of the 99 flash flying blue creatures that Wizards has printed recently. Fortunately for us, they become better and better. As you see here, a looting creature. If you loot too much, you might even get to cast your spells for free. I tried it in the command zone, as I was quite a fan of Grazilux back in the days, so I'm really into U-Tempo. As some of our viewers recently said, we all know that bitzelberg loves to play blue spells. Yeah, that's probably right.
Yeah. And what we love even more is playing 2/1s flash with flying.
Correct. In the command zone. That's the most important part.
Also outside of the command zone.
True.
We remember we played like random Eldrazi back then to trigger our Ludovics. This would have been way better. But sadly, Ludovic decks are not really around anymore. So we got this instead. Yeah. Which is worse, but also kind of fun.
Still, we have no Ludovic today, but we have Rafine. Rafine will make use of this.
Yeah.
As well as I will try it in Aragon. And I'm pretty sure we will see it every now and then. Maybe we'll get to a point at which some Ludovic-ish commander will be printed again. Ludovic himself is not good enough anymore, as you said.
Yeah. Not without a partner.
That is true, yeah. Then, there is another goblin for Tuk-Tuk. As with almost every set, it's the Stalactite Stalker.
This one grows.
On
us. Just like Grenzo does. But, yeah. This is very easy to trigger. I think this is the one thing. You can just trigger this turn 1 with a fetch land. You can trigger this with any other sacrifice effect, or even with just discarding cards. So this might be a good card for Rafine.
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely. So in general, I think Descent is a very nice ability. There are a couple of more cards in this set, but yeah, I think this is one of the most relevant ones to us. Also because it has the interaction stick to the creature, which you might not use every day because the Menace Beater is quite a good card, but you can still use it, so it has a third effect that makes it even better. And as you said, we will see it in Rafine as well as in Grenzo.
Yep.
And when we're talking about white removal, we often get lost, but not this time, because Wizards printed a better version of Fateful Absence, which, Martin, you as a control player, is definitely an upgrade. Don't you think so?
I think so. Maybe it's not. But yeah. We will probably have to try that out in practice, but on the first side, this removes enchantments as well. And I think getting to trigger your explore and getting the actual card out of this instead of like just a irrelevant 1/1 counter, which you can probably handle pretty good as a white control player. So this seems a lot better. Yeah. And I'm looking forward to playing it and removing reanimate enchantments with the enchantment part of this card.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm looking forward to. Yeah, as you said, the map tokens are fine. As long as your opponent is not playing Affinity, Sai, or whatever, whenever artifact count matters, this card is... Urza Saga, yeah, this card is probably fine. But you can destroy Urza Saga with this card.
That's true.
Nice.
Woo! So that's a good land destruction spell.
Exactly. Okay, if we're talking about artifacts, let's get back to the second pirate, Kitesail Larcenist. A cool new mono blue way to get rid of nasty threats your opponent puts down to the battlefield. Quite a unique card. I think there is In Too Deep. That's the 2 blue split second enchantment that enchants a creature or planeswalker, I think, into a clue. So this one is kind of similar. I mean, the split second spell is much better. Pirate has some self-protection with Ward 1. Probably won't see play in every blue deck, but yeah, maybe some tempo decks, Swiloon. I played it in Malcolm too, simply because you usually don't have any access to removal spells like this. And yeah, I think it's a fine card. Needs to be tested every now and then. Yeah. It's also a human. That might be cool in some cases. There are some human decks out there. We've recently seen a top 8 with Goldbug. That's the transformer, the Asurius transformer that synergizes with humans. Maybe this card will be played there. I doubt it because it's a 3-drop, quite expensive, but you never know.
Yep. It's a decent card.
True.
I think whenever blue gets a way to remove creatures, we always take a look at that.
Yeah, and sometimes even the artifact removal might be relevant. Getting rid of, okay, we don't see that much jitter anymore, but if you play against your Teferi player and you get off extra plan lens or whatever, that's quite unlikely, but yeah, might be useful every now and then. Yep. It might be a helping hand to have a nice introduction to the newer next card. I was super hyped when I saw the card. Like, imagine having a white Unearth. It's not as good as the Unearth because you cannot cycle it, but still. And it also brings the card back to the battlefield tap, but still, we have there. I mean, there are so many white decks in the format. Of course, I thought about a Ratchet, and there is Yoshi. There were back in the days there were decks around Gut White, and I think there's a lot of potential for this card.
Yeah, I think we've seen a lot of Unearth in recent years in like just good stuff decks, just to like return the Sympathy 3 good stuff commander that you usually play in those decks back to the battlefield. And so having another version of that in white is very interesting. And also, might have a lot of potential for like future cards, because this is like a design space that Wizards really, really likes to put cards into. So the next Rafine might just be on the horizon, and this card will probably be in that deck.
Sure. Then there is a new Rakdos card. There are a few new Rakdos cards, but the one we're talking about is Molten Collapse, which is another cool card that synergizes with the Descent ability. And that's the reason why it's most often an upgrade to... How was it? Dreadbore was it called?
Dreadbore,
right?
yeah.
So the first line is pretty much the same. If you get to choose both, you can maybe get rid of another permanent on the board. Like if you imagine playing against Slimefoot and he starts the turn with a Utopia Sprawl instead of a Dork, you can get rid of Slimefoot as well as the Utopia Sprawl if you want to do that. Sometimes people don't decide because of the remaining Sprawling, but that's just for an example.
I think this is decent enough upside to maybe make Dreadbore more interesting, because that card has been kind of fading out of the meta in recent years.
Yeah.
We got a lot of great like mono black removal, for example, eliminate, which are usually instant speed. But this is still, we still see a Dreadbore from now and then this is obviously just a straight upgrade.
Yeah, true.
And yeah. C1 cards are always great, so getting rid of them is even better.
I think so too. I mean, we've seen, and they're also like, Aminato is currently not that popular, but you have things like currency converters, Skull Clamp. There are tons of things you cannot sacrifice in response to think about that might be worth destroying, in addition to the creature you get rid of anyways, or the Planeswalker. So that's definitely a nice card. And then there's another goblin. It's the Lava Tongue. Quite a cool one.
Very, very nice artwork there.
Yeah, and also the special artworks are quite freaky from this set, I think. Have you seen them? Like with this
I have not.
circle, and there's some, it's super weird. But
I have to take a look at that.
Yeah.
But this one on its own, in the normal artwork, already looks pretty
cool.
crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah. And the effect is quite cool as well. We have like a almost Croxer effect here.
Yeah.
Your opponent can choose to just take the 3 damage instead of discarding a card, for example. So, but still, dealing 3 damage for free, just for like cracking a fetch land or looting a card away, is pretty nice.
Yeah, definitely. I also think like it's a mini Croxer, and we will probably not see it in that many decks. I'm pretty sure we'll see it in Granzo again. But maybe if people start playing with the card, they realize, okay, in most cases, if you have reliable sacrifice engines, or you have your fetch lands coming up, and so on and so forth, and you can constantly make use of the trigger, then it might be worth a try. Also, it's like a 2/2 body with Death Touch, so in the worst case, it blocks down a big creature, which is not too bad.
Is there a Mardu Yoshi Brew?
That's not possible because there's only Wild Smasher as a partner.
Oh right, and that one is banned. Okay,
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. That would be interesting. It would be interesting for sure. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe at some point we get another Rakdos partner.
What's more than interesting though is our newest addition to the opposition agent, and what's the other card called? Hullbreacher cycle.
Yeah, true.
Kind of.
True. Yeah, it's if you are in love with cards like Stifle Tails and the Nimble Obstructionist, the Tidebinder is just around the corner, looking for another player to use this very powerful ability. I was when I first saw the card, I thought, okay, nice. You have Nimble Obstrutionist's abilities combined somewhat, but the fact that the permanent loses all its abilities is insanely good.
Yeah.
So I think this card will see a lot of play in various decks. You will see it in Raffine, Aragon. I think Airtie will play it because Airtie features a few creatures in order to finish the game at some point. Yeah. I mentioned Raffine already. I think I did. Just a very, very good card, I think.
Yeah. Basically destroying the Planeswalkers, for example.
Yeah.
And even getting to counter the first ability is pretty nice. So if your opponent plays like a 5 mana Teferi, you can pseudo counter it for just 3 and also get a buddy after that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and also if you think about how many command zones these days have activated abilities or triggered abilities. You have a Root Stein that enters the battlefield and it's a 1/4 vanilla. Aragon 4/4 vanilla. Still a good card, still a good buddy, but yeah, you know where I'm coming from. And they're
losing all abilities, so it's also losing lifelink and everything like that.
Exactly. Yeah. That
can be very good
and,
as well.
And also, if you think about Stickfingers is a bit on the rise again due to the Bloodlord Saw in Half combo. So this one can also take care of the trigger.
Yeah.
And yeah, there are many more things. It's also good against Yoshi, by the way. So Yoshi is not growing. Yeah. The more I think about the card, the better it gets. So
I think what we've seen with Tail's End is that while Stifle on its own is not good enough, if you get like a playable card with a Stifle upside, that can be very insane. And just getting the random fetchland Stifles now and then just wins you games. And getting more of those cards is pretty powerful, so you have more chances at that.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, last but not least.
Definitely not least.
Definitely not least. We collect Souls of the Lost.
Yeah.
A new attempt to have a Tamogoi fish creature in the format. I think the last time we've seen something like this was how was this card called? I think it was even played in Modern for some time.
The 3-mana lifelink Death Touch with like the
no, I'm thinking about the
effect for opponent.
The 2-mana dude that has also XX and it's reduced by your life total or something like this. It was I think it was a reverse Death Shadow, but I'm not sure anymore. It's a 2-drop. Yeah. It was played for some time, but
okay.
Anyways, this one we have a spirit here. Where do you see this card?
Yeah, this is probably good in any deck that kind of does things with the graveyard, that has the ability to mill. So Grist Runeseed are the first that come to mind.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe also some Reanimator piles, because Reanimator piles usually get quite a few cards, creature cards and permanent cards into the graveyard, and this might be like a second plan to just slam this as like a 6/6 or 7/7, discard your threat, and then your opponent has to both handle this creature plus the reanimator threat that you just posed to your opponent.
Yeah.
So maybe this is not good enough, because obviously the casting cost of discarding a card can be pretty rough if this gets countered, but the upside is pretty insane. So maybe this will be our new growing friend on the battlefield that swings for 7 or 8 on turn 4.
Yeah,
if you get lucky.
Just when I think about it, I could also see it in decks in which the sacrifice a permanent as an addition is not that big of a deal. For example, if you have Jadar as a commander that constantly produces tokens, or as you said in Grist, you can just sacrifice the insect token into that, and you have a growing graveyard due to her ability. So yeah, let's see. Maybe people will experiment with that. The only downside I see is one of the few reasons why Tarmogoyf is not that popular anymore is not only that the removal suit has become so good, but also because even if it's a big dude, it has no evasion at all. Yeah. And that's a bit of a problem for me with this card. But I might be wrong, and we'll see some play every now and then.
Yep. Yeah, it's definitely interesting, and maybe this will be the final check for how big cheap vanilla creatures can get in our format.
Yeah, true.
And still be good. Or if we need trample or flying or menace or something like that on a creature, and otherwise it's just not playable without an enter the battlefield.
Okay. And that's it already. Well, I mean, there are many more cards we could talk about, but there are not that many more cards, to be honest. So we thought we will stick to the 10 we've presented today.
I think this is an interesting set again. So we had like a few. I feel like the last few sets have been kind of boring, and even the fun cards have been either very multiplayer focused or just pretty bad. And this time, all of them look kind of like, if this was like a mana cheaper, or if the effect was slightly better, this would be playable.
Yeah.
And so those cards can be kind of forced to build around, maybe build like a fun tier 3 deck for your Friday night event or something like that. So for that kind of brewing spirit, this is quite a fun deck. Quite a fun set, I think.
True. Yeah, I definitely agree to you. Like, I mean, we've covered Wilds of Eldraine 2. There were also a few new cool cards, but there weren't that many cards, or abilities or whatsoever to say like, oh, that's pretty insane. It will influence our format. You will see this card every now and then. I think that is much more the case with this set now again.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's see. With that being said, I hope you liked our little session. And whenever we get to see some new shiny standard set cards, because usually we don't do a review on all the new cards. I mean, Martin and me talked about having a review on the Universes Beyond Doctor Who, but I think when you look at the set, there were a bunch of cards that were slightly relevant, and the rest just fell off.
A pretty boring set.
Also, because it was designed around Suspend, which is usually not very good for competitive play unless you abuse it in a certain way. So let's wait for the next one.
Yeah. We will definitely see another set like this again, and we will be very excited to talk about it.
Exactly.
So,
okay.
Thanks for watching and listening.
And see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.